Kickoff comes your way 7:30 Eastern time from Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Brian, I'm okay. Jags didn't lose this weekend, so there's that. Right?
So you're an optimist.
I'm holding out hope that we can have a victory Tuesday tomorrow.
Well, let me give you the optimistic side of this, right? As bad as it has felt this week with this football team, as of this moment, if the Jaguars beat the Bills tonight, they're going to Houston next week to play for first place in the AFC South. How unlikely does that seem after what the first 2 weeks have felt like?
It's kind of the NFL, right? I mean, it feels emotionally like that can't be possible, but we've watched enough NFL football to know that this kind of thing happens all the time. I mean, you had 5 0-2 teams win yesterday. Let's make it 6.
Yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati's could make it 7 tonight with the Monday night doubleheader. And then if you're able to do that, you leave the Tennessee Titans as the only winless team. You don't want to be in that category heading into week 4.
Now, the flip side is you're getting a 2-0 Buffalo team that the first 2 weeks has looked really, really good. I'll remind you that last year they looked really, really good coming to London, and things fell apart. So not to read too much into it, but it is a huge challenge at that stadium where the fans – look, Pittsburgh fans are intense. Buffalo fans are a completely different level. I mean, in a loving way. They're crazy.
They are.
That place – they flipped the switch on game day in Buffalo, and they turned that place into an asylum.
You know how you quiet them down? You take the lead, right?
Yeah.
You dominate time of possession. There are plenty of things the Jags can do to quiet that crowd. They just need to play well tonight. Buffalo's a good team. I don't think they're a world-beating team. I mean, they look fantastic against Miami, but that's kind of the up-and-down nature of the National Football League. We see teams look horrible one week, look fantastic the next week. Buffalo was down significantly against Arizona to open the season. They came roaring back. They've scored a lot of points. New Orleans was the highest scoring team in the league until yesterday. They weren't, right? So let's make them have problems that they haven't experienced so far this year.
All right, and the Jaguars are 0-2. They've lost 2 games by a combined 8 points. And as Doug Peterson pointed out this week, there's 3 plays between them and possibly being 2-0. So it's not like they got their doors blown off of them like a few teams have so far. Let's jump right into the big topics of conversation this week, and we'll start with the head coach, who was asked this week about the value of playing a big Monday night football game in Buffalo for his somewhat struggling 0-2 team. Hold on 1 second. We will call this back up. Mike, you know how my history is with technology.
It's always good to get one in early.
We tested it before. Now let's try it.
I think this is good. I think it's good for our team. I think obviously it's a great opportunity to go on the road. As you mentioned, it's a really a great atmosphere for football. It's a Monday night game. The fans are going to be, juiced up and ready to go, and it'll be good for us. I mean, it's a benchmark. It's a measuring stick game, right now, and great for our players to be, in these when we need to be in these atmospheres. We need to be in these situations more, and this is a great opportunity for them.
Look, measuring stick, all that's fine. Just get a win, man. It doesn't matter if it's Buffalo. You look at yesterday, Vegas probably thinking, oh, man, we're coming off a big road win against Baltimore. We got Carolina coming in here. Carolina smacked them around. They're up 26 points. So, I don't know if that was a measuring stick game for anybody.
Right.
Every game in the NFL is to some degree a measuring stick game.
Well, and every game can be thought of as a big game. But if you go back and look at last year, the Jaguars did not perform well in the so-called big games. Kansas City.
Correct.
San Francisco, the 2 primetime games here against the Bengals and against the Ravens, even the big game that popped up on their schedule at the end of the year last year,
Tennessee,
with the playoffs on the line. So the genesis of the question, and by the way, it was mine, was I wanted the coach to talk about the fact that his team needed something, maybe a little something extra. And tonight is certainly something extra at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo.
Well, look, you should get up for every game in the National Football League. It was surprising the lack of intensity that seemed to come from the team last week for the home opener. You can't have that tonight. You're going to have to match it because, like you said, that environment is going to be crazy. The Bills are going to be on a high-wire act. They're coming home for the first time.
Yep.
So, it's all out there for you. You're just going to have to play good football tonight and shut them up.
I walked into the control room next door to get started with you guys in the post-game show last week, and I turned into the room just as I heard Trevor Lawrence say, "We suck right now." And he was asked about that all week long. He pointed fingers at himself, and so he was asked this week, all right, we've been talking about the offensive line and receivers and defense. What do you need to do to get better?
For me, just going back to the last game, I thought I didn't play great early. I missed a couple throws early in the game. on third down that I need to make to keep us on the field, to keep our defense off the field, and just get into a rhythm. And I think that was a big piece of it, and just consistency, like I've been saying. I think that there's things in my game that I'm doing well right now that I wanted to do well this season that I made an emphasis, and there's some other parts where I still need to work. Consistency on some footwork stuff, some timing, just my eyes on certain plays. Not getting too fast or too far ahead of some plays or progressions. I think there's a few things definitely to work on, but I think it's the same message for myself as it is for the whole offense and our team. Is just a couple little things, but you got to do them and you got to be consistent, and the little things get you beat. So I think that's the emphasis is just the details and the consistency and doing the right thing every play. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be mistakes, but really putting an emphasis on those little details, and because they matter and they show up in games.
But nobody's saying that Trevor Lawrence is the only problem with the team, but he can play better. There's no question about it, particularly off last week's performance, Brian. Sometimes it is just inaccuracy, like he talked about. I missed a couple of throws. Sometimes he's misread the situation and not seen the open guy. Sometimes he's left the pocket when he didn't need to, and things opened up immediately afterwards, and if he had hung in there, he might have had some opportunities. Sometimes he needs to just say, you know what, there's nothing here. I'm going to tuck it and run it like he did last week aggressively a couple of times. And, look, you're a $275 million quarterback, and it doesn't matter how much you make. Well, that's part of it, though. It signifies that you are the franchise. And you've got more responsibility than everyone else does on this team. And you got to, at times, put this team on your back, make the simple plays, but sometimes make the extraordinary ones as well.
Well, as Coach Campo said when I saw him earlier today, it's about taking the profit from the play, realizing that there is some in every play. There is something that you can take. 3 yards, 13 yards, whatever it is, you've got to know where it is and be willing to take it in order to be an elite quarterback.
I don't disagree with that, and I hope part of that is the game plan calling for getting the ball to the playmakers more consistently.
Yeah.
More targets for Brian Thomas, more targets for Christian Kirk as well.
Told you what I do. First play of the game, I'd send it deep and send the signal. Here is what we've got. You better buckle up. It's coming all day long. It's been an interesting week around here, trying to block out the noise of an 0-2 team. The players didn't shun the media in the locker room. In fact, Andre Sisco stepped right up to the plate and offered this as how he was working.
I mean, every week in the NFL is a championship opportunity, and so you're never mad on the Monday of the Super Bowl. So just, approaching it with the mindset that, we have opportunity to change things, and it's a week-to-week league. Everybody, some teams start 0-2 and finish 15-2. It's just that type of league, and I tell people it's like the NBA. Nobody's saying anything after 10 games in the NBA of who's going to win the chip. So it's just approaching it, taking it day by day. And like Kirk said, we got the type of group that's resilient enough, and we've seen it. I think the past 2 years with Doug, our starts haven't been a reflection of where we finish. So just, taking it day by day.
Maybe they need to be a little bit more mad on Monday. Honestly, I mean, look, all that's fine to have that attitude. It's one game at a time. We're only going to focus on this game. You let 2 winnable games escape you. Look how poorly Miami and Cleveland have played in their other 2 contests each this year. They've been abysmal. Now, granted, Miami's quarterback situation is a big
Changes
factor.
that a bit.
But Tua was on the field when Buffalo was winning 31-7 against those Miami Dolphins. So, that's really not an excuse. Now, this week's lack of performance, yes. So maybe they do need to be a little bit angrier, Brian, about the missed opportunities that have gotten away. Nobody's saying you're mathematically eliminated, but you could say, hey, if they lose this game, hey, we're 0-3. Right. There's still time. 0-4, there's still, yes, technically that is true, but the reality is you usually don't overcome that kind of deficit.
I don't mind guys being a little nasty after a loss in the locker room on Monday. By
salty.
Wednesday, you got to stop and talk, guys. But Monday, if you want to kind of grunt as you pass on by, I get it. All right, talking about grunting, not that that's what this guy does, but Foye Oluokun, I mean, the guy is always hustling to the ball. He is always around it making plays. And he's going to have his hands full with Josh Allen, who at 6'6" and nearly 260 pounds is never shy to run over anyone in his way.
If you get him in the open field, he's just like another player with the ball in his hand. Good explosion, runs the ball well with, stiff arm spin, whatever. Good runner with the ball in his hand. So it's the whole tackling plan of what you see with either a running back or tight end with the ball in his hands in the open field. It's tricky though, in today's league with the whole slide. Don't let up. I ain't gonna say I'm gonna take a fine, but you can't really let up until he really defines a slide. I think we've played him well in the past here. Just keep that attacking mindset and force him into a slide.
Look, he's a big guy. He doesn't shy away from contact the way most quarterbacks do, but you got to make him pay. right? I mean, he's a human being. There are limits to what his body can withstand. So light him up if you're going to take that on, and he does, and he's very good at it. I'm not talking about the sliding side. I mean, he'll hurdle guys going in. We saw that already this year, hurdling going into the end zone. You've got to lay the wood to him when you get that opportunity and make him think about it a little bit. All
right, those are the early storylines in the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. Much more sound ahead, especially at the top of the next hour with JP Shadrick. That's coming up at 5:30 Eastern Time. Well, Jags fans, are you Duval enough to become the Jaguars' 2024 Fan of the Year and earn a trip to Super Bowl 59? Visit NFL.com/Fan of the Year and nominate someone today. Speaking of someone, how about come on someone, or to be more specific, come on somebody. Here is E to the T with Radio Magic.
It's been about 10 months, 43 weeks, 302 days, or 7,258 hours since I put this on tape. You know what that takes us back to? November 26, 2023. Our last Jaguars victory on the road. But that changes today. I sure hope so. Come on, somebody. Because 0-3 is not an option. It can't be. Come on, somebody. And you know what they say? Come on, somebody. About an 0-3 team making the playoffs. Not so fast, my boy. If we talking analytics, of the 162 teams that started 0-3 since 1990, only 4 has made the playoffs. That's 2.5%. Ew. So here we are, 0-2 on the road at Buffalo on Monday Night Football. Oh, that's primetime, baby. Come on, somebody. So let's talk more analytics. Travis Etienne has 3 rushing touchdowns in his last 3 primetime games. Josh Hines-Allen had 1.5 sacks and an interception in his only game on Monday Night Football. As your Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, Doug Peterson is 2-0 against the Buffalo Bills. And our boy Trevor has 8 touchdowns and 0 interceptions with a 96.3 rating with 6 career starts in prime time.
It's my quarterback.
Sounds like to me the boys like playing under them bright lights. So with the division still up for grabs, let's go claim what we say is ours. Because the South still got something to say. So why not say it in primetime action on Monday Night Football? It's the Jags and the Bills under them bright lights. Let's go get this done. Analyze that. Come on, somebody.
Well done. The dramatic music took it to a different level entirely.
Yeah, I will say the biggest takeaway for me from that, honestly, is, under Doug Peterson, the Jags have had success against Buffalo. So there are a lot of players on this team that feel like, hey, you know what? We match up pretty well with that team. That doesn't mean you just show up and beat them, but if you're looking for some positivity to hang your hat on, it's certainly there.
All right, much more ahead here in hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show, including...
I know where the quarterback wants me to be. I know how to block and play better, so all the small details are very important.
All right, that's Brenton Strange, the young tight end who was thrust into the starting lineup last week with the injury to Evan Ingram and will be again this evening. We'll hear from him coming up in this week's Baptist Health Player Interview. But next, CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco's perspective. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport.
Join the Jaguars in Miami and Houston. Watch them win in Philly, Detroit, Nashville, and Las Vegas. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
Hey fans, it's Tyson Campbell, cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, your game day is getting even tastier with Al's Pizza in the stadium. And every time we get a pick, you'll score. If the Jaguars get one interception, you'll enjoy buy one, get one free pizza at any Al's Pizza location Monday through Thursday after the home game. 2 interceptions, a free dessert. And 3 interceptions, that's a free appetizer. Just tell them you want the Jags pick. Up your game and get your Al's Pizza at the game or any of their locations.
Champions are built from the support and encouragement they get from the team around them. No one knows that better than Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr.
As one of the nation's largest pediatric health systems, Nemours Children's Health gives hope to future champions every day to go well beyond their limits. Together, we can redefine children's health. We are Nemours Children's Health.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
The Publix Tailgate Show rolls along through hour number 1. Brian and Mike with you from the Hyundai Studios inside the Miller Electric Center in Jacksonville. We have a 7:30 kickoff time for the Bills and Jaguars from Highmark Stadium just outside Buffalo, New York. Mike?
Yes?
You talked to Pete Prisco this week?
I talked to him this morning, as a matter of fact.
How was that conversation?
Well, we both want to see this team kick it into gear, right? And I think that's one of the things we mentioned earlier. It looked like a team that was surprisingly flat for their home opener last week. So I started off with Pete to just, if he expects this team to show the intensity befitting a team that feels like it has their back up against the wall.
Yeah, I do. I actually think they will. That part of it they'll get. I mean, last week they looked a little lifeless, and from talking to people over the stadium, it felt that way. And so Monday night, you got to go out and show people you can play football and be one of those teams that can go out there and compete with one of the better teams in the league. So I think that the level of intensity will certainly be up this week.
Let's start defensively. The Jags have done a nice job the first 2 weeks keeping points off the board. At times, though, they've had their issues allowing big plays to Miami, allowing time-consuming drives to Cleveland. What's the key tonight, Pete? Is it just simply not let Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, take this game over?
Well, I also think you got to stop the run game. I mean, that's one of the things against the Browns. They were on the field, and the Browns weren't really getting big plays, but they couldn't get them off the field the first half, and I think that limited the offense. So get Buffalo off the field, and we know what Buffalo's changed kind of the way they play. They want to run Cook, and they want to establish the run, and then get Allen outside the pocket and create with his legs and make some throws down the field. So stop the run and then try and get after Josh Allen. You got to contain him. That's the tough part. But I think ideally if you're defense, you want to stop that run.
James Cook did nothing against his team last year. Carried it only 5 times for -4 yards. So the Jaguars' run defense was outstanding that day in London, held Josh Allen to 14 yards. He was the leading rusher, Pete. But James Cook off to a hot start. Is he a different back at this stage of his career than the guy the Jags have faced in the past?
Well, he is, and they're more committed to it. I think when you look at this offense, this version of the offense to Joe Brady, it's much more committed to the run. I think their offensive line is better. The right guard Osiris Torrance from Florida has improved as a run blocker. Spencer Brown's outstanding at right tackle. They can move people off the ball, and I think that's why they're better running the football, and that's why Cook looks better. But he does look more decisive with his ability to put his foot in the ground and cut. So it's going to be a real challenge to stop that run game.
You know, I know I talked to you earlier this summer. You were up at Buffalo training camp or I guess some joint practices, and you were remarking on how involved it looked like they're getting Dalton Kincaid, and that hasn't been the case so far. Why do you think Buffalo has struggled to get him in the flow?
Well, in week one, they doubled and tripled him the entire game. And then last week, you saw little bits and pieces of it. But I think once they got ahead and they realized they could run the ball, they didn't need to throw the ball. That limited what they could do in terms of throwing the football to him. So I think it's a combination of two things. I would imagine they're going to try and get him established tonight in this game early and often and try and get him going because he's such a dynamic weapon when he gets the ball in his hands, and he's a tough cover. Linebackers have problems with him, and safeties have problems with him because they're not big enough. Linebackers can't run with him, so I think that combination will get him going tonight.
Well, the Jags would love to establish Travis Etienne. He had over 5 yards a carry against Buffalo last year with a couple of big touchdowns in that game. Pete, how important is he? How integral is he to whatever success the Jags are going to have on offense tonight?
Well, he's always integral, but here's the problem, and the way I see it. I think he needs to be integral once you open it up with the passing game. I think if you line up and say we're going to run the ball with, 3 tight ends and say, go ahead, Travis, go run the football, then I think it's going to be a problem. I think they need to establish throwing the football, open things up, play fast in some possessions, play a little freer, a little looser, and then come back to your run game. Throw it to get points and then pound them with the run game. I think that's what they need to do. I think they've been way too predictable as an offense, and the offensive line has struggled. That combination has led to minimal offensive football, and they need to be better.
Talking about playing faster, a lot of us this week were calling for more tempo. It seems like when the Jags feel like their backs are against the wall, sometimes it's when they produce their best offense. Would you be surprised if we didn't see maybe a little 2-minute drill early in this game tonight?
I would, and I think they need to. I mean, if we go back over the course of Trevor Lawrence's career, the best he's ever looked was against the Chargers, and he had to play fast and loose and free, and he did. Allow him to try and do that more and allow him to dictate tempo. And I know sometimes last year, particularly, they were scared of the offensive line. Well, you got to take your shots down the field. If you really want to do that, you can limit those 3rd and longs by getting big chunk plays. Throw one down the field for 40 yards, hit one of those, then come back. Throw one for 7, then run the ball if you want to. Get your first down, and off you go. I think they're way too predictable. They're not getting the ball down the field. And at times, the receivers seem to be, taking some of their routes off, which is never a good thing. They need to get those weapons established.
Does Trevor Lawrence need to look for more opportunities for himself to run it if that first or second read is not there? He did a little of that late in the game last week, and it seemed to be effective.
Yes and no. I think you got to be careful with how you run. You don't want to get outside the pocket too much. It's dangerous out there. But if there's an opportunity, and we saw that when he, got out and went down the sideline, I think you have to take that. And yeah, so to answer your question, yes, but you have to be careful with it because, boy, I tell you what, they want to take your head off, and there's always a chance of some kind of injury when you're running with the football.
All right, Pete, we're just a few hours away from kickoff. Jags know that if they win this game, they'll have an opportunity to go to Houston and play for first place in the division. No matter how bad it's been to start the season, that is out there for them. So what do you expect the outcome to be tonight?
If they play fast and free and loose, I think they have a chance to win the game. If they go up there and play the way they've played in the last two games, and predictability is first and foremost has been their curse, I think, then I think they have no chance. So, Mike, it's a hard pick for me. Judging by what happened yesterday in the league, I do think they'll hang around and make it competitive. But if they start playing run game, they're going to have problems. So I think Buffalo wins the game. But it's going to be one of those games you better show up because it's going to be a long night if you don't.
Buffalo's going to be on upset alert as well. And, I mean, look, this wouldn't be a shocking win if the Jaguars knock off the Bills here. But, Brian, I think when you are Sean McDermott, you can go, hey, look, those 5 teams that were winless that won yesterday, don't let this be the 6th one tonight. So I think it's an easy way to kind of get Buffalo focused for this contest.
He said loose, fast, and free. He used that term, those words, 3 different times in that interview. Who is it easier for to play loose, fast, and free this evening? The home team with 2 wins to start the season, or the visiting team with 2 losses?
I think it's the home team. I really do, because I think despite you could say, well, hey, you know what, you get to a certain point, you just let it all hang out. At 0-2, I don't think that is that point, right? It's not like you're 0-7 and you have nothing to lose. You have a lot to lose. You have this football game to lose. You have the chance to go into Houston and play for a division lead next week to lose. So there's still a lot of pressure on the Jags. If the Bills lose, so what? They've shown that they're pretty good. They're going to be fine.
Would Trevor be more likely to be loose, fast, and free if Evan Ingram was playing this evening?
I would. Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they have such a rhythm. They have connected in so many key situations. And last week we saw Brenton Strange come up with 3 big catches, including a 30-yarder. But whether or not he can step into that role this evening and be that guy remains to be seen.
I think we're going to have to find out. I mean, second-round pick. And look, his production last week was a lot more than what Evan Ingram got in week 1.
Right.
So despite the fact that they might have that chemistry between them, it didn't show up against the Miami Dolphins.
Well, and the coaching staff talked about how they had seen this from him on the practice field, and they always knew he was capable of it. It was good that we saw it last week against the Browns. They definitely need to see it tonight. So I asked him in the practice, in the locker room this week after practice, why are you more comfortable? What are we seeing from you in 2024?
I'm very comfortable in what I'm doing now. It's kind of hard to come in as a rookie and adjust to everything, and especially being a tight end of everything they ask you to do. But I'm very comfortable now. I know what to do. I know the details, and I know where the quarterback wants me to be. I know how to block a play better. So all the small details are very important.
Take me back to last Sunday. Did you even blink when they said, hey, you're the guy because Evan's not going to be able to go?
Nah, you can never do that. And always, I've learned since being in college, even when I didn't start, you have to always prepare like you're going to play and be the starter. So it was an unfortunate situation. Obviously, I want you to be out there for our team and for our group, our tight end group. But no, you can't blink in those situations. You always got to prepare like you're going to be the guy starting, and even if you don't get the reps in practice.
He's obviously an important guy to this team, and probably to you too. Can you put into words how he's helped you get to the point where you are?
Yeah, it's honestly hard to put into words, honestly, because nobody really sees everything that goes on in our meeting rooms and on the field and the conversations we have. So that's a guy that I'm very happy to have as a leader of our group, and he's helped me so much, and I'm very thankful for him.
What can you tell people who are listening about the mindset of this team? They're feeling a little down 0-2. How are you guys?
Obviously, it sucks to be down 0-2, and that's not what we want. But it's a new week, and we're coming, and we're ready. And each week, we're going to look to get better. And coming out there, and we're going to do our best and try to win this football game in Buffalo.
I remember right. You had a pretty good game against the Bills last year, mostly blocking, right? Tell me about getting a team a second time around.
I think it's you have some familiarity with them, and you know what they're going to run. And I obviously haven't looked into the Bills yet, but I will tonight. So it'll be some familiarity of what they like to do and things like that. So
tell me about primetime. You guys got a couple primetime games last year. Primetime on the road is a completely different deal. You probably know a little bit about Buffalo, being from that neck of the woods. Tell me about going into Buffalo on primetime and Monday Night Football. Exciting?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's going to be an amazing atmosphere. I always love playing in those atmospheres. So it'll be fun for sure. But prime time or not, treat it like any other game and go out there and play football, have fun.
That's really the message, right? Treat every game like it's just one game. Is that hard to do because the NFL is so ubiquitous, or is it easy to do because you can really only focus on your week?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's hard to do, but I wouldn't say it's easy to do too, because you get in the moment and you want to control your emotions and stuff like that. But each guy has their own process about how they go about things, and I think if you stick to your process, then you'll be good.
And just give me one final thought on this team and how you guys see success. What do you guys have to improve on week to week in order to be able to go where you want to go?
I think the most important thing is when we get into the red zone, scoring touchdowns, and I think that's the most important thing. We had some drives in Miami, and we had some drives last week as well against the Browns where we got in the red zone and we didn't capitalize. So I think that's the most important thing for us right now.
Zone last week, 1 for 4 in the red zone, killed them.
Right, and the feeling when they got that penalty on Dearness Johnson was, oh my gosh, man, it's such a struggle. Yep. We got one. And it was only 2nd and 7 after that, right? But it felt like second and eternity because they are struggling so much in that area of the field. So you got to improve there. You got to feel like every time you get down 1st and goal inside the 10, you're going to punch it in on one of your opportunities.
You'd like to think that Brenton Strange would get the opportunity to have a couple balls thrown his way, and hopefully that opens things up for the other guy, Christian Kirk, who has not been a factor yet this season.
Teron Johnson out, the outstanding nickel corner for Buffalo, and Christian had 6 catches for 78 yards in London against the Bills last year, and with no Evan Ingram in the mix, absolutely. He needs to get somewhere in that 8 or more target range.
All right, well, coming up in about 15 minutes, Hall of Famer Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman join us from the broadcast booth at Highmark Stadium, but up next.
Just stay true to who we are. Stay the course. Play with discipline. No need to press. Do things right, and then do right longer.
The Jaguar secondary sustained some early big hits to their lineup, but they keep playing, and they're playing pretty well. Defensive backs coach Chris Richard tells us how and why. The Jaguars and Bills are coming up on Monday Night Football from Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. This is the Publix Tailgate Show. You're listening to Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
Brooks Rehabilitation is proud to be the official rehabilitation partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are here for them, and we are here for you. Ranked #1 physical rehabilitation hospital in Florida by U.S. News and World Report, our playbook is individualized treatment and exceptional care to get you back to living your life. Brooks has cutting-edge technology and therapy solutions in every care setting, treating sports injury, orthopedics, brain, spinal injuries, and more. Go beyond your expectations with Brooks Rehabilitation.
The kick is up. It's good! Score winning sub deals this Jaguar season at Firehouse Subs. Receive 50% off on any sub when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Download the Firehouse Subs app for offer details. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available in the Firehouse Subs app.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
And welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Ryan and Mike with you from the Hyundai Studios inside the Miller Electric Center in Jacksonville. The Jaguars and Bills will kick off on Monday Night Football, 7:30 p.m. Western New York time. Which, by the way, happens to be the same as us.
Yes.
But just figured I'd go with that one. There's 2 games tonight, which is why that one's at 7:30. The Commanders and the Bengals are the second game. Glad to have the early one.
I love the Monday night doubleheader, usually, and I am glad to have the earlier one. I really wish they'd do a Monday night doubleheader every week. To stagger it and maybe kick it off at 7, so you get about halfway through the first one, the second one kicks off, and you can focus on that, decide which one you're going to take home, for the remainder.
I suppose if the ratings would support it, they do it.
I don't know.
The Monday night ratings have been
but when you roll in, then they can roll in all the ESPN platforms and ABC and all that together. I don't know.
Yeah, well.
I don't care about the ratings,
money,
Brian. I care about me and what I want to see on Monday night.
As your friend Pete Prisco likes to say, if it's good for me,
it's good for me.
It's absolutely good for me. And speaking of good for me, it is time for our weekly commentary from Rick Ballou.
Beautiful Monday night in Buffalo, and what an opportunity for the Jaguars. I have to admit, though, I'm still stung by Trevor Lawrence's comments after their last loss to Cleveland. His words, frankly, they were expected. His body language as well. Bottom line, he's had it. And he put everyone out there, including himself, his players, his coaches, to turn things around and to hopefully make things better. Now, what an opportunity. Monday Night Football. And we know that Trevor Lawrence has lost 7 straight games. Does it become 8? Or is this one of those deals where it becomes a turning point in his career? When we move ahead years from now and look back, remember when Trevor Lawrence finally lost his mind after that loss to Cleveland? Finally, when he said enough is enough, took the bull by the horns, if you will, and completely turned around the fortunes of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Massive criticism has come in on play calling, the offensive line, wide receiver era, etc. Hey, that's all fair, but Trevor has to make plays. Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, you need to be creative. None of this 7 pass attempts when you have a lead in the second half at Miami, or only 16 passing yards in the first 30 minutes of play against Cleveland. You paid him the money. He's the franchise quarterback. Put Trevor Lawrence in a position to win games. Should be an interesting one tonight, folks. Enjoy it.
You can catch Rick on Into the Night with Rick Ballou weeknights from 6 to 8 on 1010 XL. And our broadcast this evening is brought to you by Ticketmaster. They're the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The quarterback, right? The offensive line. We have not talked about the secondary, which will, again tonight, be without Tyson Campbell, the $14 million corner, and without Darnell Savage. Second straight game without Savage, and I didn't think the Jaguars looked quite as fluid in the secondary, though the results are about the same. Chris Richard's done a really nice job with this group. They're resilient.
Oh, look, absolutely. There's no question about it. And they held Amari Cooper down relatively last week. He had a big game this week. They need a little help up front from that pass rush, I think, to get it generated. And I know that, Ryan Nielsen's talked about it kind of works a little bit differently in his, that the coverage leads to better rush opportunities. Either way, they've got to work more symbiotically. Cleveland gave up 8 sacks this week. 2 to the Jags, 6 in week 1. The pass rush needs to get home to help that secondary out.
Now, Chris Richard is a great communicator and a guy who's been with some really good coaches in the game, including Pete Carroll and that great secondary that you all recall from his days in Seattle. So he knew what it took to get Monteric Brown ready to play.
It's truly a design of holding yourself to a higher standard and staying true to the standard of our room and our group. And that, the fact is that we play for one another. And lack of preparation by any member of our group, regardless of who we put out there first, doesn't necessarily mean it's quote-unquote starter. This is who we're starting the game with, and Lord willing, we'll finish the game with them. All right? But we can design it as we please. Sometimes things happen. So, again, it's all about everybody preparing as if they're going to play and start the game for us.
And it's worthy of mentioning because the term next man up is always applied, but it doesn't always happen. Tell me about Monteric Brown in particular and the way that he stepped into that starting lineup against the Browns.
Yeah, it's an awesome level of maturity, that he has shown. And he's been a guy whose mind has just been locked into doing things right since the first day of camp. So it truly wasn't surprising to us, and best believe it wasn't surprising to him. He's been an extremely focused individual, and each and every single day that he's come to work, it's been absolutely about him being his best.
You can see a guy who's clearly learned the last couple of years that he's been around. Third year seems to make a big difference in a young player.
Yeah, no question, right? Again, all about confidence, all about, again, being there and have done that. And the time on task always helps. The beautiful part is that, we can all hold each other accountable to a technique, to a discipline, to an assignment, a responsibility. And, like if a coach isn't right, hey, hold me accountable, right? Obviously, again, if a player isn't right, again, we absolutely will hold them accountable. So, it's just him fostering the idea that we all play for one another again, and really just staying true to who he ultimately wants to become. And that's a full-time, big-time guy. So.
What has Ronald Darby brought to the room? Because I keep hearing what a good teammate he is, and he's obviously a very experienced veteran player. How has he helped you as you're here in your first year implementing your philosophy of playing football?
Yeah, it's an awesome level of humility from a guy who has played 10 years, who wants to do it exactly the way that we're asking. And so that embodies the spirit of great teammate. It doesn't matter where he's been. It doesn't matter how he's done it. The only thing that matters is how we're doing it. And when you have a veteran, that's veteran leadership. That's all-in mentality. It's buying into what we're doing, championing the defense, championing the technique, and then going to play your tail off. And that's what he's done.
What does that mean for young corners like Trey Prince and Christian Braswell to get time with a guy like that?
It means doing it the right way matters. And here it is, a guy who's 10 years plus, and he's done it the right way, and I'm sure he's done it the right way his whole entire career, and he's been fortunate to play 10 years. So if that's the blueprint, then it means you want to play for 10, go do things the right way, be the right guy.
Saw a number that no team plays more press man than the Jaguars through 2 weeks of this season. What is it about that style of play that fits this room, and why do you guys like playing it so much?
Yeah, challenge people at the line of scrimmage, right? Again, nothing cheap, nothing deep. That's the simplest mindset that we can have. We go out there, we challenge people day in and day out, and then we have our core principles that we need to make sure that we're absolutely taking care of each and every single down.
Final thought, you have seen what it takes to win in this league at your various stops. What is it that this team needs to do to get a win on Monday night and to start winning like you have worked towards?
Yeah, we just stay true to who we are. Stay the course, play with discipline, no need to press, do things right, and then do right longer. And then ultimately the takeaways will come. That's absolutely has to be a big portion for us as we continue on through the season, right? Again, it's our ability to take the balls away. But it's not about pressing. It's about doing right and allowing the ball to come to us. Second, we go out there, we make something up because we're trying to make a play, right? Again, it's like trying to make a cake. Well, how do you do it? You follow the recipe. So we have recipes for doing it. We just need to make sure we follow the recipe to an exact specification, and then the results will come. So just stay true, stay the course, keep playing, man, and have a ball doing it.
He sounds like a head coach, doesn't he?
He does.
Follow the recipe.
Maybe a future one.
Yeah. No, I think he's got that in him. And this stop on his career could certainly help because Monteric Brown is a guy who he got ready to play. Trey Prince got on the field, the fifth-round draft choice, who I may have told you is still grating about being picked in the fifth round, but he made a PBU, a pass broken up, on the very first play he got out there. Christian Braswell was elevated. They won't play him, obviously, unless they need him. But there's 3 young corners here that they like a lot.
There are, and even though you're missing 2 key guys in that secondary, it's a good matchup for this secondary tonight for the Jaguars because there's no true number 1 receiver that's emerged yet. And now maybe Keon Coleman down the road will become that for the Buffalo Bills. So you've got an opportunity to get some of these young guys in position to make plays. Monteric, Doug Peterson talked about it, had an outstanding game last week, led the team in tackles. And these weren't all chasing guys down the field after he gave up receptions. He came up, he was really physical and run support as well.
And if you've ever stood in front of him, you realize he's not that big of a guy. He's about 185 pounds, but, man, you didn't know it the way
some guys have it, man.
They sure do. Monteric Brown had it last week, and he'll certainly need it tonight. Well, if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, you better check out the 2024 Ford F-150. It's loaded with impressive capability and game-changing tech. You can dominate work, play, and everything in between. Test drive an F-150 at your local Ford dealer. They're a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, at 5:30, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show, and JP Shadrick will be along for that. When we return, Jaguars analyst Jeff Lageman and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli join us from the broadcast booth at Highmark Stadium. The Bills and Jaguars on deck, Monday Night Football, Week 3 NFL action. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show, and this is Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. a high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense, a rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
What makes that famous call
Dinner's ready!
even better? It's cooking a great meal with natural gas, enjoying faster cooking times and precise temperature control. And now getting a valuable cash rebate up to $300 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas range or cooktop.
Anyone want seconds?
When you show your home love with natural gas, it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Hey Jags fans, Extreme isn't always about heat, it's about flavor. And 505 knows flavor. So wake up those sleepy taste buds with 505's new lineup of premium craft salsa. Powered by the bud-kicking boldness of fire-roasted Hatch Valley chilies, 505 salsas are more than enough to bulk up any simple spread. Ignite your sense of boldness with 505's all-new assortment of fiercely fiery flavors featuring 505's new black bean and corn craft salsa. And of course, 505's award-winning flagship flavor, Southwestern style.
Everyone circle up. I know it looks rough out there. Sure, we're down 24-6, but we came here to play differently. We need a game changer. Something like Ring Central, the business phone system that's more than a phone. I want you to communicate like you can talk to anyone, anywhere, all from the same app. Now get out there and play like you're using Ring Central.
Ring Central. Simpler communications.
Ancient City Brewing is celebrating 30 years of Jags football by becoming the proud craft beer partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what better way to celebrate a throwback year than to throw back some of their expertly crafted beers? From Augustine's Orange Amber Ale to their Castillo Coconut Porter, there's always something new to discover at Ancient City Brewing, including the new First and Gold Golden Ale, coming soon to a Duval County store near you. Ancient City Brewing, taste history, make history, and please always drink responsibly.
If you're facing cancer, you want a dedicated team working for you. At Baptist MD Anderson Cancer Center, we only focus on cancer. And we partner with one of the largest cancer centers in the world. So you'll have a specialized treatment plan created by our experienced and highly trained oncologists and surgeons, collaborating with one of the country's leading cancer centers. Best of all, we're in North Florida, with locations in downtown, Baptist South, and Clay. Appointments at baptistmdanderson.com.
And we're back on the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian Sexton, Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios in the Miller Electric Center. 7:30 kickoff for Monday Night Football at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. And it's time now for the first rounds on us.
New York Jets, first round choice. Jeff Lageman.
Jacksonville Jaguars have selected tackle Southern California, Tony Baselli.
The first round on us is presented by Ancient City Brewing. Taste history, make history. And Jeff and Tony join us from Western New York. Is it a nice first couple of days of fall kind of day?
It's gloomy.
It's
overcast,
like a typical
rainy.
Buffalo, gray, dreary day. The only thing that's good about it, Brian, is that it's not snowing and it's not sub-zero.
Yeah, it's not cold at all. It's probably high 60s, low 70s, just gray, dreary.
All right. So you're not enjoying fall?
No, I mean the leaves haven't even changed here yet.
I'm not a big fall guy. I'm more of a
surprising,
summer guy.
You know, but it's Buffalo. You know, and this night is what it's all about, though. I mean, look, Monday Night Football, and when a fan base has their own nickname, you know it's going to be loud and it's going to be challenging for this football team to come in here and get a win with the way the Bills are playing right now and with the way the Jaguars are playing right now.
All right, so let's get right to finding solutions presented by the University of Florida, the #1 university in the U.S. News and World Report's #1 state for education. I'll leave it very broad. You guys go where you want. How do you solve the issue of the offense? How do you get something positive going for a side of the football that has plenty of talent?
Well, this is not going to surprise you, Brian.
No, it's not, because we talked about it this week.
It starts with blocking. It's up front. You got to block people. You got to block people in the run game. You got to pass protect. You got to let your quarterback get comfortable, operate in the pocket. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, you can't win. It's hard. It's hard to get it done.
Let me just add something to that. You got to block to the whistle. You know, I mean.
Well, but no, timeout, Jeff. When you say you need to block, if you only block halfway to the whistle, that's not blocking.
Okay.
Blocking
I just want to make sure
from
we're
the
clear on
snap
that one.
until the echo of the whistle.
And that's part of the problem, Brian and Mike, is that this offensive line that the Jaguars, and I'm not pinning it all on them because, look, there's I think enough to go around to every position group. But, I mean, to talk about them specifically, they got to learn and they've got to finish. They're watching too much when their ball carrier behind them is getting tackled or if Trevor is, in the pocket. I mean, you got to finish and assume that your block is going to make the difference between a touchdown or not. And right now they're not blocking like that. And, and Trevor's got to play better too.
Sure.
I think that's probably number 1A because if you're going to demand out of your team and you're going to lead your team, you have to have performance. It's the tried and true measure of leadership that goes back to eons in all of professional sports. You can't lead unless you're playing well. And Trevor needs to play better, and then he can demand more out of his teammates.
Yeah, but, Jeff, I guess, and I hear you say the quarterback's always 1A, I guess. But I'm a big believer if your quarterback is even struggling the slightest, let's investigate why. If you're getting hit in the face a bunch and you're seeing opposite color flash in front of your face all day long, well, then to me, that's on the guys up front. Like, back when we played together, there was times at the end of the day as an offensive line we said it's on us to protect and to get the run game going because it makes everything else easier for the offense. And because right now, I mean, I saw it on tape last week, there's times – yes, Trevor missed stuff, but I think it's because he gets out early. Because I think he is expecting to get hit. He's expecting the rush. And the best way to fix that is to get him comfortable. And to do that, you protect early and you run the ball.
I'm totally believing in that. And I'm telling you, if there was ever a game for this team to be able to find a really good rushing attack with their offense, this is the game. Take the fans out of it because they're not that big as a front, and it quiets the crowd. It's going to give you manageable second and third downs. I mean, all of that kind of adds up.
And, guys, they may not be that big up front, but they've had some pass rush success. And I think surprisingly to all of us, the Jags area of the offensive line that struggled the most has been the tackles. How confident are you that Cam Robinson and Anton Harrison and company can get that turned around quick?
Well, I'm concerned, to be honest with you, Mike. I mean, look, Von Miller is back. At least he's leading this team in pressures. He's got 2 sacks. Greg Russo is the guy that really jumps out on film as well, that is consistently putting pressure on Annette Oliver. I mean, that's 3 really good players, and not even talking about A.J. Epinesa, who has given this team some problems in the past before. So, I mean, Tony, they're a good group, and that's why if you run the ball, then it makes them a little bit less, likely to pin their ears back and come.
Mike, I mean, your question is the right one. I mean, how confident I am, I'll let you know. Can we stay out of 3rd and long? Can we stay ahead of the sticks? And that goes to what Jeff just said. That means you got to run the ball. Like, I'm not confident if we're going to drop back 45 times tonight in obvious passing situations that we're going to hold up against this pass rush. I mean, they're good. And Von Miller, he's not out there every down because of his age anymore. But when it matters, he is going to put a great rush on. He's going to hit you with the inside spin move. He's going to, take your hands away. And he's a good player. And he's not what he once was, but he still has moments and flashes of who he was. And they got a good front, and they want to, and Jeff said it right, they're not big. And so the way you handle a team that wants to rush the passer, you punch him in the mouth early. And you lean on them, and you run it, and you run it again, and you run it again, and you play action pass, you move the pocket. Because if you get behind and get into a track meet or try to keep up where you have to drop back all day or all night, I don't have a lot of confidence in that at all.
Guys, Jags won the game last year against Buffalo in large part because they absolutely dominated the Bills when they tried to run the football. In fact, James Cook had negative yards in that game, but he's off to a hot start this season. Jags did well against the run week 1, not so much last week. What kind of performance are you expecting tonight?
Well, I expect the defense to play well, but I will tell you, they've been playing okay in the first 2 games, maybe better than okay, but they got to take another step too. We kind of are pinning a lot of the blame this team not winning on the offense, but if this defense they've got to find a way to get some takeaways. And Josh Allen hasn't had an interception yet this year, which is kind of unlike him. I don't think he's ever had the first start of a season where he's gone the first 3 games without an interception, or for 3 games for any stretch for that matter. So you got to find a way to get a takeaway. Help your offense out, give them another opportunity, create some energy. And if you can do that, then you can also quiet the crowd here in Buffalo. I think that's got to be priority number 1, though, is you've got to take the ball away more than the Buffalo Bills do.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great broadcast.
Thank you,
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, guys.
You believe Baselli didn't have anything to say?
I was waiting.
I was too. I'm stunned.
Thought he'd jump in, and then you jumped in. I thought he might jump in after that, but hey.
I think that
he's
maybe
a Hall of Famer. He can do what he wants.
As unlikely as Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Bills, not having a turnover in the first 2 games.
Hey, you know what? Tony Baselli, in many ways, made his national rep in playing against the Buffalo Bills.
I will
right?
never forget that day.
Well, let's have one of those kind of coming out performances for I don't know whom tonight for the Jags, but let's have those.
Well, I would take it if the offensive line and the quarterback got into rhythm tonight, got into a sync. Talking to players and coaches this week, it always looks as if it's all of the offensive line. But in talking, it wasn't all on the offensive line. There were some issues with the quarterback and making good decisions and good checks at the line of scrimmage, being good coming out of the huddle, right? Good in terms of understanding where the clock is and not putting himself in a tough situation. They gotta kind of hit themselves and go.
That stuff has to all be cleaned up tonight.
100%.
I mean, you're a team that's playing on the thinnest of margins. You cannot take timeouts to avoid these, delay of game penalties when you have a successful drive going.
The great teams, and we've seen them, do the little things the same way every time, the right way. Mike, have a good rest of your pregame.
Thank you, Brian.
And I will see you in the postgame show.
Yeah,
up next, hour number 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Top stories of the day coming up. Jaguars and Bills at 7:30 on Monday Night Football. And this is Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are you ready for some football? Well, you are now, thanks to Ticketmaster. As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster's got the best way to take it to the house when it comes to being there live. They're the safest and most convenient marketplace to score fully verified Jaguars tickets. And even if your plans get broken up or worse, turned over, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell your seats. So get those touchdown celebrations ready and score your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
The power of a great team starts with the right equipment, specialized skills, and the training to win. That's why ASAP Dental Care and the Jaguars have the home team advantage. At ASAP Dental Care, we follow our playbook to perfection to exceed your expectations. Count on us to be there for you 7 days a week to deliver full-service dental care. Score a winning smile with ASAP Dental Care today.
Calling all loyal Jags fans and loyal Gate customers, football is back. And you and 3 friends could win a chance to meet Trevor Lawrence. Entering is easy. Just buy any 5 28-ounce Gatorade or Gatorade Zero products at Gate with your My Gate Rewards app and you'll be automatically entered. Not a MyGate Rewards member? Download the app and sign up today. See store for details. Alternate entry available at GatoradePromos.com/TLON.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans covering repairs on up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call 800-471-1223. Coverage varies by plans. View contracts and exclusions at carshield.com.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. It is week 3. We're closing in on the Jaguars and the Bills on Monday Night Football. It's a 7:30 kickoff time. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. We're at the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. 0-2 start. Well, the Bills on the other side are right there at the top of the AFC East, and it's a team the Jaguars have beaten the last 2 times out in the regular season, 2021, and again last year. That's fine. That's all in the past now. It's about this Jaguars team getting things right, getting a winning result, because if they do, then all of a sudden they're a game back in the AFC South standings.
Yeah, I mean, you can turn your whole season around with a win tonight. I don't think that's an exaggeration. You fall to 0-3, even if you beat Houston next week, you're still 2 games behind them in the standings, and the wild card's becoming less and less relevant, and you wonder, do you have the run in you to overtake them? You'd have time to do it, but you need a little bit of help. So win tonight, JP. 5 0-2 teams won yesterday. Plenty of them won on the road. There's no reason you can't go out there and beat this team, the Buffalo Bills. They've looked good, but they're not world-beating. They're not this unstoppable force so far in the NFL, and maybe they turn out to be one of the better teams. But like you said, the Jags have had recent success against them under Doug Peterson. So hopefully, the players go in with that sense of confidence. Like, hey, Buffalo looked like maybe the best team in the league when we played them last year, and we beat them. We shut down the running game. We won the football game, and it was part of a streak where the Jags really got it rolling.
Game day weather is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving in Buffalo at Orchard Park at Highmark Stadium. Currently 72 degrees. The temperature should fall into the mid-60s by the end of the game tonight. Here in Jacksonville, of course, a bit warmer than that. There are cloudy conditions in Buffalo and no rain at the moment. Currently 86 degrees in Jacksonville and bright sunshine. Here are some of today's top stories, starting with the Jaguars offense looking for answers in key moments of games. And it starts with the quarterback, Doug Peterson, this week on where Trevor Lawrence is right now.
There's a lot of issues that we have to, I say a lot, there's a few issues that we need, just assignment errors that need to be fixed. Obviously, we've had more, backed up drives in 2 games I think we've had in 2 years. To start. So our starting field position has been tough. So there's some challenges there too, right? So, the game the other day, we just didn't have enough opportunities in the first half. It's made some really good throws down the field to Brian, and we continue to push the ball down the field. And, I think too, when it's not there, he's done a good job of pulling it down, either running or, finding the back. So we just got to keep working.
From Trevor Lawrence's perspective, how this team can get things back on track?
Moving forward. How do we move forward? How do we get better from it instead of just being pissed off about the result? Like, how do we use it to actually learn from it and get better? So I think we had some great conversations. The team's done a great job. We're together, we're tight. I think that's the biggest thing that you can't lose, and we haven't lost that at all. We got a really close team, and it's important. But yeah, I think of course we got a mature team that's going to respond well to things like that, or to whether it's myself or Coach Peterson or Josh or Foye or Evan, whoever says something, speaks up. Guys are going to respect it. We have a really tight locker room.
All right, so quarterback Trevor Lawrence, last 7 starts, 7 losses for him and the Jaguars team, of course. So now through 2 games, how does this group take the next step, starting with the quarterback?
You got to play better, man. It's not a matter of this cohesiveness. I mean, that matters to some degree, JP, but then why didn't they use that as fuel last week, coming off a disappointing loss to Miami when you're playing a really bad Cleveland team and you came out really flat? Were you not cohesive last week, but now you are on the same page this week? I don't buy it. Execute better. Have a better game plan. We hear Doug Peterson talk about Brian Thomas Jr. Design it so you're getting him looks down the field. In every half of football you play going forward here, that's when the Jags have had some of their biggest offensive boons and leading to some of their just handful of touchdowns that they've been able to score this year. So they've got to stretch the field with him more. They've got to design more looks. The ball's just going to go to the open guy is great in theory, but I think you have to scheme it up to get the ball in your playmaker's hands.
Christian Kirk has been one of those playmakers over the last couple of years, but hasn't done much of anything this season so far. And the wide receiver, well, in the slot for this Jaguars team in this offense, looking for a rhythm. And how do they find it?
The rhythm is a real thing. And, when you have multiple 3-and-outs and you're not on the field for that long, you're waiting a couple minutes to get back on the field, it's tough, and so that's why I think for us we got to do a better job of staying on the field and, like I said, being efficient on first and second down and, putting ourselves in third and manageable, and then also being able to convert on third down.
And then from an offensive line perspective, Mitch Morse has seen it all over his career, and he knows what gets a team back on the right path.
The teams that seem to, not ride the roller coaster, like I said, that weather the storms that are going to happen, are the teams that care about each other and fight for each other, but also have a sense of urgency. Like, I'm not saying it's all good. Like, there's definitely stuff we need to fix. Don't get me wrong. So we'll just work on it and go from there and do it in a constructive way.
All right, so Morse going back to a place where he's played, of course, in Buffalo, and this is where it starts for the offense, at least for me, up front. They've got to play better on the edges, of course, against the pass rush of the Bills starting tonight.
Yeah, Greg Rousseau's off to a really good start this year. Ed Oliver can push the pocket in the middle. Von Miller starting to round back into his pre-injury form. A.J. Epinesa is another guy that has given the Jags problems, as Tony Pacelli pointed out last hour. So up front, that's really where the playmakers are, because when you consider this Buffalo team right now, Terrell Bernard, their best linebacker, will not be playing tonight, and Teron Johnson, their nickel corner, who may be their best corner, might be their best player in the secondary overall, is not going to be playing. So I do think the opportunity is there. We talked about getting Christian Kirk more involved in this offense. 3 official targets, 1 catch for -1 yard. You should never come out of a game with those kind of numbers for Christian Kirk based on what he's shown he's capable of doing here. I think tonight you're going to see him get the ball coming his way a lot more than he has in both games so far this season.
On the other side, the Jags defense facing one of the best quarterbacks in the game, and Bills QB Josh Allen, and linebacker Foye Oluokun knows exactly what he brings.
He's just a playmaker, really. Big guy, can use his feet. Has been trying not to use his feet as much. I think he's been documented saying that, but he got all the arm talent and stuff. He's betting the ball out more this year in the past 2 games from the years I played him in the past. Yeah, and then when things break down and when the game gets on the line, I've seen him use his feet, lower his shoulder and stuff. He's a big guy. He does escape the pocket and throw the ball or run the ball. Like, he's just a good quarterback, good football player in general.
Got a run game to go with it this year as well, which balances it out.
Well, that's the key. Do they have that run game tonight? Last year, the Jags took that run game completely out of the picture. They have been different since changing offensive coordinators last year. James Cook had the big game against Miami, including the 49-yard run, but he scored 3 touchdowns overall. And it showed you the difference in Josh Allen's stats. Week 1, he had to do a little bit of everything to get it going. Last week, he threw for about 130 yards, didn't really run the football because they were content to hand it off, and they were having success shortening that game against the high-powered Miami offense, and they played that to perfection in improving to 2-0. So absolutely, as good as Josh Allen is, if you let James Cook have success, particularly early tonight, that makes Josh Allen that much better.
Josh Hines Allen for the Jaguars, of course, on the defensive line, part of that group up front. They know what they're going to get tonight.
When you look at the last 2 games and towards the end of the season, they started committing to the run, even down the stretch. So identifying, knowing what they're going to be in and playing fast up front and stopping the run, get them in second and longs. We know what to do, when it's, when they come out in a longer distance. But just stopping the run, he's been running the ball really well. And, I'm excited for a good game. I know it's going to be a physical one, especially up front. We're looking forward to it. We like physicality and, we're ready to showcase our talent.
Well, that's going to happen certainly tonight. And, of course, coming back, the Jaguars looking to bounce back from back-to-back losses. And safety Andre Sisco in his contract year, his 4th year in the NFL, his approach to the early part of this week going into week 3.
Losing games shouldn't feel good, so, take it personal and allow yourself to allow it to fuel you to be more detailed. I think that's the biggest thing for myself as a leader on this defense is I got to be a lot more detailed. My preparation. You always think that, you've done enough. And so, losses could show you that you got a lot more to do. I think, and then remembering this feeling when we do get our wins to say there's always something to get better at, not to be content. Sometimes you start fast and think, oh, I've done everything right this whole offseason, so I'm getting the results. So it's early. It's good to expose it now, honestly.
Yeah, there you have it. And, there is a lot of football left. However, and yes, they are a couple plays away from being 2-0, but they are not. They are 0-2, and there are some issues that we've been hearing about all week long that they're trying to clean up and fix both sides of the football and move forward.
Oh, look, there is a lot of football left, but you gave away a couple of games that were one-score games that even if you just split them, you're feeling so much different about the position that you're in right now, JP. So I think this team needs to get a little bit mad at their performance and let that fuel them. And granted, there is a lot of time left, but you can keep saying that deep into the season. Hey, they're still mathematically alive. Hey, they're this. Hey, they're that. Look, none of it matters if you don't start stacking some wins. And if they fall to 0-3 tonight, I mean, the statistics just are overwhelmingly against teams that start that way making the postseason.
There you have it, some of the top stories of this week. Jags fans can't make the game. We get it. You could easily donate your Jags tickets to VetTix, military veterans in the community, through the Jaguars ticketing account page. Select more on the ticket page and select the game you'd like to donate. VetTix, tickets for troops. Let's head to Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. Kai Stevens joining us from the broadcast booth. And I think fall has arrived in Western New York, right, Kai? How are you?
Sure has. I went and got some apple cider donuts today. Got a cider slushie. I am doing autumn to its finest.
Yeah, when in Rome or Buffalo, I suppose.
Yes.
So we're talking a little bit, obviously, about the things we've heard out of the locker room and the coaching staff this week. They're working on some things on offense. Red zone wasn't great last week. Defense has some things they can improve upon. It's just they've had, especially on the offensive side, some communication issues we've been hearing about, Kai, and that's a little bit startling to hear.
We've been hearing about it. We saw it in those 2 delay of game. They had to take timeouts to avoid delay of game penalties when Trevor was in the red zone against the Browns, and obviously that's frustrating for, I'm sure, everybody involved. Press Taylor talked a little bit earlier in the week about some of the issues they've been having with communication.
Really, it's been in the red zone, where we always know that's an issue because your substitutions are traveling the furthest point they could throughout the course of a game. So you're leaving the player's box into the red zone there. You're trying to be quick in and out. We've got to get in and out of the huddle. Sometimes an explosive play led you to that. That's one of the issues we had the other day. Trevor had the long scramble, gets down there, and then we struggle to get in and out of the huddle because, again, I think we're all everybody takes a deep breath. When it's 3rd and 8, you convert on a 30-yard run, whatever that may be. Take a deep breath. Well, the clock's rolling. So we got to get in and out. We got to communicate quickly. We got to get to the line. We got to be aware of the play clock, and then we got to execute. That's also when you're on the road. We were obviously at home, but when you're on the road, you're closest to the opposing fan base a lot of times in the red zone, especially in Buffalo. It's about 10 yards off the end zone where the fans are. So it gets very loud in those situations. So it's just about keeping a tight huddle, making sure we hear the call. A lot of that helps with just understanding the game plan. If we know exactly what the call is going to be, you're anticipating it, you hear it in the huddle, you break, and then we can communicate and operate cleanly. That's
Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator, earlier this week, Kai. And, he also said after that, it's year 3 in the offense. These things shouldn't be happening, right?
They shouldn't, in theory, but, when one thing goes wrong, feels like everything's going wrong, right? So they've discussed a little bit about maybe doing a little hurry-up, kind of just naturally going along with things, not stringing it out, but I'm sure silent count will be involved today. This is not going to be quiet here today. So if those communication issues didn't get worked out in practice, it's going to look really bad against this Buffalo crowd because it's going to be loud.
Kai, give us an idea of the scene there in Orchard Park right now, Highmark Stadium. What's going on the field? What's the scene outside in the parking lot when you guys came in? What's the situation?
Oh, what a good time driving in. It's very entertaining. If you've never been to it or seen it, they take it very seriously. I'm pretty sure everybody took the day off of work today just to prepare for this at 7:30 at night. It rained earlier. It kind of burned off a little bit. Everybody's out here doing their activations, getting warmed up. Trevor's throwing some passes to Christian Kirk right now. And, I'm just excited. I know what we saw from them against the Browns. I didn't see the effort I wanted to see. I felt it was a little listless. But if they can't get up for Monday Night Football, then we may have a big problem because Monday Night Football always brings it.
It should, at least. We'll find out in just a little bit of time now as the Jaguars visit the Bills. Have a great night, Kai. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Kai Stevens joining us from Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. We are closing in on the inactives. They are about 15 minutes away. We'll get those to you in just a little bit. Up next, it's ESPN analyst Louis Riddick. He's on the game tonight. He'll explain how the Jags can get out of the early season funk and more. Kickoff at 7:30 for the Jaguars and Bills on Monday Night Football. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, EverBank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game. Are you ready for some football? Well, you are now, thanks to Ticketmaster. As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster's got the best way to take it to the house when it comes to being there live. They're the safest and most convenient marketplace to score fully verified Jaguars tickets. And even if your plans get broken up or worse, turned over, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell your seats. So get those touchdown celebrations ready and score your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars.
Brooks Rehabilitation is proud to be the official rehabilitation partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are here for them, and we are here for you. Ranked #1 physical rehabilitation hospital in Florida by U.S. News and World Report, our playbook is individualized treatment and exceptional care to get you back to living your life. Brooks has cutting-edge technology and therapy solutions in every care setting, treating sports injury, orthopedics, brain, spinal injuries, and more. Go beyond your expectations with Brooks Rehabilitation.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading healthcare and technology organizations nationwide to deliver workforce solutions. CSI prides itself on building meaningful relationships and provides personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate Show continues, and we're inside 2 hours until Monday Night Football. It's a 7:30 kickoff time for the Jags and the Bills. Let's go around the National Football League.
All right, plenty to do around the NFL, JP, as most games are in the book. 14 of the scheduled 16 have been played in Week 3 of the NFL season. Taking a look at the AFC South standings and how they look at the moment, Houston fell to 2-1. Following a 34-7 beating at the hands of the Minnesota Vikings yesterday. Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud threw a pair of interceptions in the loss. Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold threw 4 touchdowns in the win. That gives him 8 through 3 games, and his MVP odds have shrunk dramatically in the markets out there. An MRI today revealed no structural damage in Darnold's left knee. They're a little concerned about that. He's expected to be ready to go when Minnesota faces Green Bay in a big divisional game in Week 4. The Packers, of course, will be coming off back-to-back victories. That following a 30-14 win over Tennessee that saw former Titans quarterback Malik Willis post 275 total yards and a pair of touchdowns against his old team. The Titans, along the way, fell to 0-3. They're currently the only 0-3 team in the National Football League. Meanwhile, Indianapolis picked up their first win of the season, 21-16 over the Chicago Bears, despite Indy quarterback Anthony Richardson throwing a pair of interceptions and no touchdowns. Richardson threw 3 games now, 3 TDs, 6 interceptions, but as I mentioned, the Colts did get off the schneid with their first win of the season. In addition to Indianapolis, Baltimore, Denver, the Giants, Carolina, the LA Rams, all picking up their first win this year yesterday following 0-2 start. So let's hope that that continues with the Jags tonight. Former Jaguar quarterback Gardner Minshew was at the helm for most of the game yesterday as Las Vegas fell to the previously winless Carolina Panthers. Raiders coach Antonio Pierce was so disappointed in the play of his team, who fell behind at one point by 26, that he said after the game, I think as this game went on, I don't think it was the team, but I think there were definitely some individuals that made business decisions, and we'll make business decisions going forward as well. Of course, business decisions, a euphemism for players who don't go all out in an effort to avoid injury in a game they consider to be a lost cause. Was asked today about the quarterback position, basically said stay tuned. Aiden O'Connell did come off the bench, throw a touchdown, so he was the starter at the end of last year. It could be a quarterback change in the offing, or maybe things will calm down this week in Vegas. Following his team's 28-25 loss to the Ravens at home, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones remarked after the game how he would have liked to have added Derrick Henry to the Dallas roster this offseason, but according to Jerry, the Cowboys couldn't afford him. Henry, who ran for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns, has approximately a $5 million cap hit this year, while Dallas has more than $25 million in available cap space. So you figure that out. Ezekiel Elliott, who's making $2 million this year, ran 3 times for 6 yards for the Cowboys yesterday. He has 62 total rushing yards through 3 games so far this year. And in tonight's Monday Night Football nightcap, don't forget it's a doubleheader. The 0-2 Bengals will look for their first win when they host the 1-1 Washington Commanders.
Battle of 2 Heisman-winning LSU quarterbacks.
That's right.
In this game tonight coming up. But yeah, it is funny, the business decisions things. It can go both ways, right? I mean, the organization can make business decisions as well.
I'd never heard it kind of put that way,
Right.
but, he's calling that out very early. And that's the kind of guy Antonio Pierce is. The players love him because he backs his players, but if you're not going to give full effort, he's going to call you out on the carpet as well. So we'll see how they respond. But coming off a big win against Baltimore, to not only lose to Carolina, who you figured would have some emotional bump getting Andy Dalton at quarterback, but to lose in the thoroughly convincing manner in which they did for a team that was hapless through 2 weeks, can't be playing well in the desert right now.
There's your look around the National Football League. In week number 3, Louis Riddick is an ESPN NFL analyst. He's on the call tonight with Chris Fowler on play-by-play. Analyst Dan Orlovsky in the booth as well. Laura Rutledge on the sideline. Riddick played parts of 8 NFL seasons as a safety and then later was in the personnel departments in Washington and Philadelphia. And he's been with ESPN since 2013. I asked him this week his greatest concern with the Jaguars after the 0-2 start.
Lack of identity. Lack of an ability to really be able to call on certain players or certain schemes and concepts that are gotta have it type of players and or concepts. And that's very frustrating. Look, I understand we're still in the early part of the season and they're just getting ready to complete week 3, but considering how long that this coaching staff and this head coach in particular, and he's spoken to this already, has been with this quarterback in particular, that he felt that they would be further along at this point. They don't understand quite why they're not a little bit further along in terms of their consistency. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that usually that means that the coach doesn't quite know what he has yet. And the players haven't really demonstrated that to him yet. And so, look, it's a hell of a stage to try and find that out on Monday night in Buffalo, which is one of the toughest places to play. I know I played up there a couple of times and it is brutal. And I'm not talking weather. I'm just talking the atmosphere. It's just suffocating. But it's also at the same time maybe exactly what they need. Because their backs are against the wall. They don't want to go down 0-3. Doug knows Sean. They've worked together. We were all in the same building at one time in Philly. There's a lot at stake and a lot of emotion involved. And that's probably what you want to see as a Jaguars fan. You want to see some emotion out of this team. And you really want to see some emotion out of number 16. You want to see him go, I'm the guy. They're paying me like the guy. I don't need to fly under the radar. I need to fly above the radar now. I need to go ahead and put myself in harm's way and be the people that everyone focuses in on because they're paying me to be that guy. We'll see.
We really, the last week after the game was the first time we'd heard him publicly, call out teammates and himself and the coaches. And it just didn't look right last week. And he kind of had it up to here, for lack of a better term. And I guess the question is, how does the team respond to that? But you have to have some equity built up to get the team buy-in too, right?
No doubt. And I think, that's a great point, right? So, and the equity can't be just the equity, so to speak, in your bank account. For him, It has to go beyond that. And I think that's why maybe it feels a little awkward to see him do that right now from the outside or from the inside, because people are going to sit there and go, well, Trev, you've shown flashes. I know what they said about you the day you got drafted. I know how much Dabo loved you in Clemson, but this ain't Clemson. And you know what? And this isn't the draft. And we really don't care how much money you make. What we care about is whether or not you're going to pick up third downs. You're going to make those plays that are special one-of-one plays, like the guy who's going to be standing on the other sideline has been doing on a regular basis since he's gotten into the league. And this dude, and he's been doing it, and he still gets killed with, stinging criticism going, too many turnovers, he's overrated, all the nonsense that you hear said about Josh Allen. It's going to start coming Trevor's way in waves if he isn't able to build up that equity based on his performance on the field. And I think this is one of those turning points types of games for him. And I don't want to make that, the big giant proclamation of this is the fork in the road for Trevor Lawrence's career. But for this season, this is huge. This is huge because of, you don't want to go down 0-3. You know what that means for your playoff chances. 2, you see how the other team in Houston is doing in the division right now and how CJ Stroud is playing. And honestly, if you're Shad Khan, you're sitting there going, I paid you to be a difference maker. So yeah, it's more than him, but it starts with him.
Louis Riddick, ESPN NFL analyst on Monday Night Football. A little more on Josh Allen, the Bills side of things. He's right there at the top of his game, but I guess why? I mean, we know he can run the ball too. There's a lot of that. It's crazy. He's 11 rushing touchdowns short of Fred Taylor. That tells you how many times he's run the ball as well. But it's what he does through the air and that arm strength and talent that comes with it.
Yeah, he's done a lot of that in the past out of necessity. I mean, so when Brian Daboll was the coordinator, or when Ken Dorsey was the coordinator, they wanted to be what Sean wanted them to be, which was a multi-dimensional balanced offense, but they just weren't, because they weren't able to capture the line of scrimmage on a regular basis. The backs just weren't. They just hadn't demonstrated that you could rely on them the way in which the backs look like this year. They may be able to be relied upon. And the line of scrimmage is so much better. This starting group of 5 that they have right now is as tough and as nasty as any in the NFL. So I think Josh is probably starting to feel like, I don't need to do those kind of things. I can do them, but I don't have to do them. 1, it's better for their overall offensive attack, and 2, it's going to be better for his longevity. And 3, I think this is really, like I said in the beginning, this is what Sean's been preaching to him anyway. This is how he's wanted him to be. He'll still be able to put on the cape when he needs to. He'll still be able to make the throws like he made to Stephon last year that he dropped against Kansas City that would have won them the game more than likely. He can do those kind of things that maybe only he, a guy like Justin Fields, a guy like Anthony Richardson, in terms of pure arm strength, can do. But he can just kind of keep that holstered. And that's just going to make them all the more dangerous, man. It really is. I don't know how long they can continue to play at such a high level on defense if they don't get their frontline players back. You give them credit for the way they've drafted and developed, because these kids are studs. The way that they're playing, the way guys like Balin Spector and Dorian Williams, the way these guys are playing at linebacker and Christian, Benford and Cam Lewis and those guys are playing in the back end. Look, tip your cap to Brandon Beane, the GM. But you need your frontline guys back, because the very definition of a backup is someone who can do it 3 to 5 games, hold down the fort, and the team can continue to chug along. I don't know. Maybe they found the next line of superstars for them, which if they have, then Brandon Beane needs to be GM of the year, which he may be when this is all said and done. It's an opportunity, though, for Jacksonville to go ahead and say, hey, look, let us be the ones who kind of expose some of the holes that you have based on who you have available. It would do wonders for them and their confidence, especially doing it up there. And they need it bad. They need it.
That's Louis Riddick of ESPN. The full conversation available on the official Jaguars podcast network and Jaguars YouTube. And this is the marquee matchup. The quarterbacks, obviously Josh Allen's been doing it at a high level. Trevor Lawrence trying to get to that high level consistently. And
well, when you play in prime time, everyone's watching you, right? So if you want to change the narrative about, whether you're struggling, whether you're worth that contract, look, I don't know if it matters that much. Win the football game is the number one priority, and we'll worry about perception down the road. But that is something that people are concerned with, no better time to do it than a national TV audience against a team that's 2-0 and expected to beat you.
Plenty ahead. Up next, the inactives are due. We'll get those to you, plus a pregame Huddle Up podcast. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser standing by in Orchard Park. And we're an hour and a half away from the 7:30 kickoff time for the Jaguars and Bills on Monday Night Football. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
The power of a great team starts with the right equipment, specialized skills, and the training to win. That's why ASAP Dental Care and the Jaguars have the home team advantage. At ASAP Dental Care, we follow our playbook to perfection to exceed your expectations. Count on us to be there for you 7 days a week to deliver full-service dental care. Score a winning smile with ASAP Dental Care today.
We need to define a great deal in today's new home market because the so-called great deals that you find on every corner just aren't the same as the incredible opportunities you'll find with a new Dreamfinder's home. How about 2.99% in year one in one of Dreamfinder's 15 communities across North Florida? Now that's a great deal. 2.99% interest rate in year one and a beautiful new Dreamfinder's home. Visit DFHSalesEvent.com for our largest savings of the year on move-in ready homes. That's DFHSalesEvent.com.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in Miami and Houston. Watch them win in Philly, Detroit, Nashville, and Las Vegas. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information. Hey Jaguars fans, sack those snack cravings with Dippin' Dots, the original Beat It ice cream brand. Grab a cup of your favorite flavor or discover a new flavor from one of the Dippin' Dots locations right here at EverBank Stadium. Get ready to taste the fun with Dippin' Dots.
I want my Dippin' Dots.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Jaguars and the Bills coming up on Monday Night Football in Week 3, a 7:30 kickoff time. Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, the site. The inactives are in. Here are the Jaguars who will not dress for tonight's game. Darnell Savage still coming off that quadriceps injury in practice 2 weeks ago. He is inactive. The Jags safety will not go tonight. Evan Ingram had a pregame hamstring injury last week after the inactives were announced. He is out again for this game on Monday Night Football. Miles Cole, the rookie defensive lineman, is out. Javon Foster, rookie offensive lineman, inactive. Cole Van Lanen on the offensive line, also inactive. Esezi Otomewo on the defensive line will not play tonight. And Jordan Jefferson, the rookie defensive tackle, is inactive. Mason Smith is up and active. He was a healthy scratch last week. Christian Braswell at cornerback and Josiah DeGuara at tight end both elevated the standard game day elevation from the Jaguars practice squad today.
The Bills had already ruled a couple of players out, a couple of defensive starters. Terrell Bernard got hurt against Miami. Balin Spector came off the bench, played pretty well. You can expect that Spector will be the starter tonight in the middle of that linebacking core. Teron Johnson will not be available to match up with Christian Kirk as the Bills' outstanding nickel corner is injured. Cam Lewis probably gets to start in his place. 3 other Bills listed as non-participants in tonight's game include safety Mike Edwards, linebacker Adefuan Ulofoshio. You're welcome, Frank Frangie. As we were just saying, the happiest guy in the building's got to be Frank tonight, not having to say Adefuan Ulofoshio too many times. And Ryan Van DeMark, an offensive tackle backup, also not active for the Bills this evening.
Those are your inactives for Monday Night Football. The Jaguars and the Bills coming up. Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York, the site. Let's go there now. And Bucky Brooks and John Oehser are standing by for a pregame huddle-up visit. Good evening, and how are things in Western New York, guys? What's up?
Oh, it's a great night for football, Buck. I mean, it's overcast right now, cool, perfect football weather for a game the Jaguars really need.
Yeah, no, the weather has been surprisingly nicer than anticipated. There's still some clouds hovering, so I know as soon as we get down there for kickoff, it's going to dump on me. But it's going to be fun. I think the energy in the air is one that both teams will be able to feed off of.
All right, so we've heard a lot this week about communication issues with this Jaguars team, certainly on the offensive side and in certain situations. Red zone being one of those. Press Taylor talked about that this week. It's year 3 of this offense, Bucky. How concerning is that for you?
I mean, it's really concerning that you're having issues with the communication. The only thing that you hope that you can pin it on, some of the young guys, some of the new guys coming in, the wide receivers, like you kind of have a hodgepodge of young and newbies trying to come in and kind of figure out what they're doing. But you would like to have all this solved because by year 3, you should be doing advanced level stuff, checks and check with me, site adjustments, all different types of things that require not verbal communication but nonverbal communication. And so when you hear that they're not on the same page, it means that you have to scale down and it limits some of the things that you're able to do on the field.
Yeah, I'm going to hope that was mostly a week 2 bizarro game because I don't know if those issues were as pointed before that. And then they sort of reared their head at exactly the wrong time. Doug talked about it a little bit. There was some stuff that happened in red zone that it was communication, but it was a couple of guys not reading the same thing the same way. But you got to get it fixed. It's such a precision league, and it's such a league of moments. And over the last, 8 games, the Jaguars haven't done well in big moments. And part of doing well in those moments is knowing the play, being smooth, and being ready at the snap. And that happened too much. And how is it happening in year 3, JP? I wish I knew.
Well, let's presume they get some of the communication stuff worked out tonight, guys. So we've heard a lot of call over the last week for the Jags to put more on Trevor Lawrence, let him open it up, let him take more shots. Do you agree with that philosophy? And what does it look like if they put more on Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I think put more is kind of put the ball in his hands more and allow them to throw it around the yard more. In terms of the deep shots, I think everyone has to understand the NFL is changing where defense coordinators are not allowing you really to push the ball down the field. There's a trend of split safety coverage where they're parking the safeties deep, not giving them run responsibilities, and just daring quarterbacks to dink and dunk the ball down the field. So for Trevor Lawrence, that means you have to be more precise. You have to be accurate with the ball. You have to really rely on your playmakers to make things happen on catch-and-run concepts. So, yeah, we can air it out, but it has to be an intermediate ball control, high-percentage passing game that allows us to stay ahead of the chains.
Yeah, I think Doug and, the offense has shown what it wants to be. They've run pretty well in some spots this year, and I think they want to be able to run. Just for everybody outside to say they got to put more on Trevor Lawrence, I think they're going to continue to believe they need to, quote-unquote, establish the run well. And I think for Trevor Lawrence to do what fans want him to, which is win the game, I don't know that it's as much about the coaching staff putting more on him, but making big plays in big moments on third down when the opportunities are there. I think he can do better in those areas. And then after the game, people say, well, see, he's doing more. They put more on him. But I think some of this is on him to make the plays when they're there. And, over the last X number of games, that hasn't happened.
And part of it's on the offensive line to not have the quarterback on his backside either. That's obviously last week the pass rush for Cleveland. We know what that's about with Myles Garrett and that crew, but doesn't get any easier this week with this Buffalo Bills pass rush. Guys who've done it for a long time and at a high level and against this team, Bucky. And what kind of challenge is it tonight for Cam Robinson and Anton Harrison?
Man, big challenge. And it's a big challenge because let's start with Von Miller. Von Miller is back. Not necessarily to being the MVP caliber Von Miller that we saw in Super Bowl 50, but we're seeing a guy who is very disruptive, can still come off the edge. And what he does is he's kind of the leader of this group that also includes Greg Rousseau and Ed Oliver. And collectively, you talk about an energetic pass rush that the motors revs hot. They are going to give Cam Robinson and Anton Harrison all that they can handle. But the guys on the bookends, they got to hold up because it's important for them to provide Trevor Lawrence with enough time so he can attack down the field. Because as good as this team is, there are some vulnerabilities when you can get to the back end.
Yeah, that's also where you talk about communication. Backs, tight ends, picking up the right chips against this team. That's been an issue for a couple of weeks. It's also, I talked about Trevor in the last segment, or in the last question. The quarterback, when a pass rush is this good and the defensive front is this good, the quarterback has to make plays when he has time. There's going to be some plays where they get pressure. There's also going to be some plays where the Jaguars' offensive line gets them blocked. In those moments, the play has to be made to negate the play where they got the sack. So some of this is still, Trevor getting rid of the ball at the right time, manage that a little more. When Doug talks about the sacks being more than the offensive line, those are the elements he's talking about. Yes, some offensive line, but overall, mentally and awareness-wise, all these things can be handled better than they have in the last 2 weeks by everybody on offense.
John, you're talking about making big plays that overcome some of the mistakes you make. Josh Allen does that, right? Josh Allen has 60 turnovers in the last 3 years, just like Trevor Lawrence does, but he generally overcomes that with some outstanding big plays and puts a lot of points up on the board. That being said, don't the Jags want to make the Bills as one-dimensional tonight and force Allen to be that superstar? You can't let James Cook get off to the kind of start that he's gotten off to the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I think that's probably everybody you play, you go in wanting to do that. And, yeah, especially this. If they get the run going and Josh Allen is dropping back exactly when he wants to, that's bad. And it's going to be a long night if they do that. So force him to make plays and force him realizing that he may make a couple of big plays. But if you keep putting him in those situations, historically he will turn the ball over. You got to take advantage of that when it happens.
Well, yeah, you have to know that Josh Allen is going to put two in the air that are for you, but you have to catch them. And so the DBs have to know that when the ball is in the air, they got to make the play because he's going to throw two to the Jaguars. It doesn't matter if they catch them or not. The other thing, in talking to one of their coaches before the game, they talked about the thing that has helped them thus far this season has been being able to get the running game going. Much like you said, it has taken the pressure off Josh Allen to have to make plays in the passing game when everyone in the stadium knows they have to pass. When you look at this wide receiver core, look, it's not a great wide receiver core in terms of personnel. They play well collectively. The pieces of the puzzle fit, but there's not one guy that is a dominant player. So if you can make this a passing game where everyone knows that Josh Allen has to pass, then it becomes a game that is in the Jaguars' favor because they should be able to cover these guys on the perimeter.
There you have it, Bucky Brooks and John Ozier from Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. Enjoy it, and we'll talk to you guys a little bit later. Have a good one.
Guys, thanks.
There you have it, the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show, Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars YouTube channel. Ticketmaster is the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're about 15 minutes away from the gates opening to the Gallagher Club on the west side of EverBank Stadium. The Monday Night Football Watch Party is about to begin. It is free, and you can check it out. 6:30 p.m. Gates open to 11 o'clock tonight. Tickets and parking free for all fans in attendance. We hear the drum line outside, the Jaguars D-line outside the window as we speak. We're back in just a moment with a fantasy forecast and play-by-play man Frank Frangie joining us from Buffalo. Countdown to kickoff starts at 6:30 on the Jaguars Radio Network. The Jaguars and the Bills on Monday Night Football coming up. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub-platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT. We've spent a lot of time in our homes. I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Champions are built from the support and encouragement they get from the team around them. No one knows that better than Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr.
As one of the nation's largest pediatric health systems, Nemours Children's Health gives hope to future champions every day to go well beyond their limits. Together, we can redefine children's health. We are Nemours Children's Health.
Chelsea here. Tired of those drafty windows and high energy bills? It's time to upgrade with Renewal by Andersen. Right now, during our exclusive sale, you can save big on custom-built, energy-efficient windows and doors designed to keep your home comfortable and secure all year round. Our Fibrex material is 2 times stronger than vinyl, providing superior durability and impact resistance. Plus, with flexible financing options available, there's never been a better time to make a switch. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation today. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Restrictions apply. License number CGC 1527613.
It's not about how you start the job. It's about finishing what you start. The Ford F-150 truck can help. Get the freedom to choose between available gas, PowerBoost Hybrid, or all-electric powertrains, all delivering the power, capability, and efficiency needed to get the job done right. Just another reason why Ford F-Series is the best-selling truck in America 47 straight years. Ford F-150, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey at the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. The Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills coming up at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. It's a 7:30 kickoff time for Monday Night Football. A lot of the fantasy work is in the bank, I guess.
Hay is in the barn,
yeah, that's
JP.
what I was trying to say. I lost my mind for a second there. But there's still some business to attend to tonight in fantasy land.
Well, we got tonight, but just looking back over the weekend that was, just catching folks up on some of the big performers. The Giants knocking off Cleveland. Hey, look at that. Cleveland reverted to form with another poor offensive showing. 21-15, the Giants win that game. Malik Neighbors and Amari Cooper each putting up a pair of receiving touchdowns for Neighbors. That's 3 on the year. Cooper got his first 2 trips to the end zone. Green Bay knocking off Tennessee 30-14. Malik Willis now 2-0 as a starter for the Packers. Who's Jordan Love? Don't need to rush him back, apparently. Willis with 275 total yards and a pair of touchdowns in the victory there against his former team. The Colts won 21-16. Jonathan Taylor, the primary engine to that offense, 110 yards rushing and a pair of touchdowns yesterday. Minnesota got a 34-7 win over Houston, much to the delight of Jaguar fans, I'm sure. Sam Darnold threw 4 touchdown passes, and most importantly for Minnesota, an MRI today showed no structural damage to Darnold's knee. I actually played him in a fantasy league yesterday, JP, at over 30 fantasy points. So you got to think outside the box sometimes, and sometimes like injuries to Jordan Love force you into doing that as well. So it worked out this time. Philadelphia over New Orleans 15-12. Saquon Barkley 147 yards and a pair of touchdowns on the ground, bouncing back from that drop pass that was crucial in the Eagles' loss last Monday night. Pittsburgh defeated the LA Chargers 20-10. Justin Fields with passing and rushing touchdowns, his first of the year in each category. Tyler Batty led the way on the ground for the Denver Broncos in a 26-7 really fantasy irrelevant game for the most part because nobody's playing Tyler Batty, but he had 9 carries for 70 yards. And right now, Javonte Williams really not doing much on the ground, so that could be a full-blown running back by committee with Jaleel McLaughlin getting heavily involved before you know it there. Carolina won the first game of the year behind Andy Dalton's 319 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 36-22 win over Vegas. Seattle all over Miami, 24-3. Zach Charbonnet continues to fill in well for Kenneth Walker III, 91 on the ground with a pair of touchdowns. DK Metcalf, also a big game, including a 71-yard receiving score in that one. Baltimore over Dallas 28-25. Derrick Henry 151 on the ground with a pair of scores. The Rams, in a comeback fashion, they were down 10 in the fourth quarter to San Francisco, were able to overcome really the fantasy productive game of the weekend. Jawan Jennings of the 49ers filling in for the injured Deebo Samuel. He's normally their third receiver. Eclipsed everybody this weekend. 11 catches, 175 yards, and 3 touchdowns, over 45 fantasy points for Jennings in that one, but it came in a loss. 2 other finals, Detroit over Arizona, 20-13. David Montgomery had 105 and a score on the ground. And Kansas City got 12 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown out of Rashee Rice as they knocked off Atlanta 22-17. Of course, the nightcap tonight, you've got Jaden Daniels against Joe Burrow. T. Higgins is back for the first time this year. Jamar Chase hoping to break out against what's been a porous Washington secondary to this point.
Yep, you mentioned the big day for Derrick Henry, of course. I mean, what if they gave fantasy stats for decleating stiff arms? He would be like
he'd be the all-time career leader.
All-time.
Yeah, I mean,
he got another one.
He
yesterday.
had one yesterday. Yeah, no, he absolutely had another one yesterday, and it was nice to be home to watch that game.
Yeah, it really was.
Beat up and
Sunday.
Don't have to worry about much about the outcome. Would have preferred the AFC team lose in that, but not always going to get everything you want.
We're about 10 minutes away from countdown to kickoff on the Jaguars Radio Network, presented by the University of Florida, the #1 university in the U.S. News and World Report's #1 state for education. Frank Frangie joining us now from Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. Monday Night Football is here. It's not a must-win. It's too early for that stuff, Frank, but, boy, they need this one tonight, don't they?
Boy, JP, hello to you and Mike, and yeah, boy, they really do. I don't think there's any question the mojo, the feeling, the vibe around this team. I think they've got a good football team. I've been saying that, JP. But at some point, you got to go do it. You can talk about that forever, and we all hear the noise, the vibe. People are doubting them a little bit. Trevor Lawrence, certainly very strong comments after last week's game. Let's see how that plays out. I think they know the matter. They know what's at hand here, JP. They know that there's been some doubts out there. They know they've been disappointed. Well, now they're doing it with everybody watching on Monday Night Football, so we'll see what happens. Big game for the Jags. I agree with you.
I have no problem, Frank, with a quarterback stepping up and making those kind of comments. But when you do, you need to follow it up with good performances of your own. How confident are you that we're going to see better from Trevor Lawrence than what we've seen so far?
I'm very confident, Mike. I think he's going to be more active, more alive. I think he's going to take more chances today. I think you're going to see balls he might have held a little longer, sacks he might have taken, balls he threw away, balls he checked down, maybe a little bit less of that. I think his feeling kind of is, listen, I gotta get the ball in play a little bit more. I think that's kind of been the narrative this week. I think you see a very active Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor's going to be good against the Bills tonight. That's the most intriguing part of the game, right, Mike? That because of after Trevor's comments and comments about him and about the offense, what now becomes of this offense that hasn't been very good for the first 2 weeks? By far the best storyline, the most intriguing storyline to me.
Frank Frangie with us from Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. The Jaguars and the Bills coming up. Well, yesterday, Frank, the Browns got a couple of takeaways. So the Jaguars at this moment are the only team in the league without a takeaway this season. Defense been doing pretty good overall, just points and not giving up a lot of scoring. But that would be the next step for this group. Get some extra bonus possessions for their offense.
Yeah, there's no question, JP. That's the one hole. I think they have been good defensively. They play a lot of man. They've done a good job. I think part of that, in my mind, is you're playing a lot of young defensive backs. Young defensive backs are good players but don't want to get beat. they don't have that knack of when to go for the interception. I think the veteran guy has a feel for when to make a move, if you will. And I think young defensive backs, rule number one is don't get beat, right? Not break up the pass, don't get beat over the top. I think veteran defensive backs tend to have more interceptions, have a better feel for when they're going to break on the ball. So I think that's part of it. The other part is, you're right, they got to get some takeaways. It's unusual to play as well as they have defensively. I thought the Jaguar defense has gotten the better of the opposing offense both games so far, yet they've lost both games and haven't gotten a takeaway. So that's a big element tonight, no question.
Well, and Frank, look, they did play well in week 1, but they gave up some big plays, right? Some big hitters. Last week, they allowed Cleveland to dominate time of possession with a ground control running game. Didn't run it all over them for huge numbers, but they controlled the clock in the first half. Look, they shut down James Cook last year, talking about the Jaguars' defense. I think you've got, as good as that dimension is with Josh Allen, I feel like you've got to make this Bills team as one-dimensional as possible.
Maybe the biggest key for the defense, Mike, what you just said. You can't let and he's been good, James Cook. He's already off to he's got 150 yards already in 2 games. He's been a very good running back. He's been explosive, faster than I remembered him either at Georgia or other times I've seen him in the league, Mike. And yes, you hit it. You can't let him run crazy. You have to. Josh Allen's really good, but at least make Josh Allen throw on your terms, not on his terms. Defensively might be one of the big keys of the game. Cannot let James Cook – listen, the Bills have been north of 30 points both games, and he's been a big part of that game plan both times. You got to control him, no question about it.
Frank, I know we're still a little bit before game time here, about an hour, a little over an hour away. How many folding tables have you seen jumped on today?
I haven't seen anybody go through one. I'll tell you this. We saw a lot of them, though. I mean, they're serious about their tailgating here, JP. There's no question. They're professional tailgaters, and they were revved up, and we were driving in on that bus. I promise you. They were everywhere. I didn't see anybody collapse one. But that's happening. We both know by about now it's happened 2 or 3 times, I can promise you.
Yeah, the clock's ticking to kick off, so that will be coming soon. The environment should be electric. It always is in Buffalo, but certainly for Monday Night Football. Have a great call tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks. Frank Frangie from Orchard Park, Highmark Stadium. Up next, it's Jaguars Radio Network coverage and countdown to kickoff. We'll have the top stories of the day. We'll hear from Pride of the Jaguars running back Fred Taylor. We'll hear from Louis Riddick of ESPN. And the final word before kickoff with the Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson. The Jaguars and the Bills coming up on Monday Night Football. And thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans, and Publix knows that football is all about pairings. A high-scoring offense paired with a stingy defense. A rocket-armed QB paired with a dynamic wide receiver. And at Publix, you can pair hot deli chicken tenders with savory dips, delicious sub platters with ice-cold beverages, and you can pair these tailgate essentials with an entire parking lot full of Jaguars fans chanting, Duval! Gear up for your tailgate at Publix, the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer. Unlock your potential at the University of North Florida. A beautiful campus with an inspiring environment for learning, UNF is a key partner to Florida's booming industries, providing students with direct access to internships and jobs. Set a new course at UNF and soar into your future. Visit unf.edu to learn more. Are you ready for some football? Well, you are now, thanks to Ticketmaster. As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster's got the best way to take it to the house when it comes to being there live. They're the safest and most convenient marketplace to score fully verified Jaguars tickets. And even if your plans get broken up or worse, turned over, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell your seats. So get those touchdown celebrations ready and score your tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars.
For us, treating cancer is personal. We're Baptist MD Anderson Cancer Center, and we know that every patient is unique. So you'll have a plan created by world-renowned doctors and tailored to your needs. And everyone here will support you every step of the way, so you're physically, emotionally, and spiritually strong for the journey. Don't face cancer with anything less than the team at Baptist MD Anderson. Locations in downtown, Baptist South, and Clay. Visit BaptistMDAnderson.com.
Hey, Jags fans, Extreme isn't always about heat. It's about flavor. And 505 knows flavor. So wake up those sleepy taste buds with 505's new lineup of premium craft salsa. Powered by the bud-kicking boldness of fire-roasted Hatch Valley chilies, 505 sauces are more than enough to bulk up any simple spread. Ignite your sense of boldness with 505's all-new assortment of fiercely fiery flavors featuring 505's new black bean and corn craft salsa. And of course, 505's award-winning flagship flavor, Southwestern style.